Some people have a deep, abiding respect for the natural beauty that was once this country. And some people don't. People start pollution. People can stop it.
I remember this commercial. This is a really deep cut for me. So I remember seeing this when I was really little. You know, back in the days before we had, well, what we have today, the level of technology that we have today that precludes things like this, you know. Everything was more, the capitalism was different, you know, it was more competitive. The companies were actually fighting each other. They weren't merging into these big mega companies that, you know, dominate everything in our society today, you know, from top to bottom. There were antitrust laws that prevented this, to keep the standard of living, you know, where it should be, to keep the three classes, the upper, middle, and lower classes, you know. It was a full sandwich. Today you got more of a two-pronged sandwich, and they trying to get rid of the meat and just have the bread on the top and shit, and whatever's on the bottom, you know. We be the gravy in the plate, you know. It's the reason I show you this commercial, right? It's the reason I show this to you. Because, you know, I'm in my 50s, all right? Make no bones about it. Been around a little bit, you know. Had some experiences. But I wanted to show you this commercial. This guy's name is Iron Eyes Cody, you know. He's an Indian, all right? American Indian, you know, very famous. I actually know the guys. I know two guys that knew him personally before he passed, I suppose. I think he passed away. One guy was working on a documentary with this gentleman, and, you know, another guy had met him through that, and he related his situation to me, you know, which I won't disclose or whatnot. You know, this guy was American Indian, man. You know, and as we know, the American Indians eventually, you know, got a form of reparations from the government. You know, these casinos and all this other bullshit. I'm not here to really talk about that. I want to talk about the future of our ethnic black community and shit, black Americans. You know, and I want to say black Americans because our proximity, we're living in the supposed country. Okay, I identify as black and nothing else. I don't call myself African American on that bullshit because I don't feel like I'm an African. Okay, I feel like we're melanated brothers across the diaspora and shit, but we have problems and shit. Okay, I want to get into that. I want to make it really political. I'm just focusing on our ethnic community right now because you can't really fix anything if you don't take care of your house and your yard first and whatnot. If you don't clean that up, you have no business going outside of it, you know, mucking about, you know, in the larger world. All right, and I'm serious about that. This is the same argument I have for our melanated people from outside of the country and whatnot. You know, recently I had posted a video of a woman, an African woman with a big wig on and blue contact lenses, doing her best to inflict emotional damage on our community and shit by simply stating that she was African and she didn't care about our struggle at all, top to bottom, you know, and that we shouldn't expect her as a non-melanated sister to give a shit, you know. And you know, I give her that shit. I just posit, you know, when you say that kind of shit to us, I don't think that you should be sitting in our communities, in our country. I don't think you should be in this country. Because, you know, we have Iron Eyes Cody here and whatnot. And it's a representative of Native Americans who were nearly driven to extinction. And what a lot of us don't realize or even, you know, acknowledge or talk about real loud is that a lot of the indigenous people of this land were us, okay? Were us and shit. You know, that's why you feel a certain disconnect when you find a melanated person from another part of the world and shit. That's why you feel that disconnect. There's an intrinsic, you know, link between people of, you know, in their own indigenous lands and shit. And that's why they seem kind of alien to us, okay? Now, I'm not really shitting on that. I'm just talking about, I want to talk about going forward and shit, you know? I want to talk to the young men out there, specifically the young men. because it's most dangerous for us. Cisgendered straight black men, it's most dangerous for us here, and our children and the children of our children that we'll have and shit. You have so many pitfalls and dangers inside the country, and there's things outside of it and shit. But I'm not saying that we, unlike some other people that make commentaries, it seems like they want you to stay inside the marmalade jar that is this country and whatnot. I don't agree with that. I think the future of our community is decentralizing it. Allowing, teaching our young men to be citizens of on a global level, to be able to travel abroad, preparing our young men as much as possible and shit. We know that the ruling body here interferes routinely, is just par for the course. They interfere in our families, They stop us from raising our kids how we want. They always have a finger in the pot, in the bowl, in the mixing bowl there. And I just can't stand it and shit. And then, as a byproduct of the dominant society, we have in our ethnic community a generational misandrous malaise, a negative attitude towards its men, that is problematic and shit. And it's probably not, we won't be able to fix this for another 4 to 5 generations, okay? So what can we do with whatnot? The guys that can and will, and guys that have skills, we teach these to these young children and everything. I'm not telling anyone to be a stepdaddy or nothing. Don't take any burden you don't need and whatnot. Think of yourself first. Be selfish, Adopt some of the aspects of these, misandrists out there and whatnot. Don't take in the single mothers or anything like that. But if you have an opportunity to teach and mentor a young man, to be a citizen, to give him a skill. We have to work on skills. We have to make sure that we're universal across the board with our young men and everything, and that we correct the behaviors where we can, with these children and everything, and even going forward, people older and shit. But that comes with time. Our community is in a tailspin economically, and there's so many. Everybody goes in 5 different directions or whatever. Neely Fuller says, don't keep company with anybody that's not doing anything productive. I kind of agree with that on a level. But we have to do something. The only way to be successful in this country is to reclaim the unwashed masses. We haven't seen any of the established powerhouses of the lame duck civil rights movement or any of these organizations or all this other bullshit do anything substantive. Everything is performative and shit. And I don't believe in those. I don't believe in those organizations as a whole. I acknowledge their existence, and that's about it. I won't give my time to them because they've had decades to affect positive change since the death of our real civil rights leaders, and they've done nothing but enrich themselves. And our communities have gone in a tailspin, and this goes hand in hand with these failed leaders, it's failed politicians, the church, and our own women and shit who have been placed atop it as a matriarchal construct, the backbone of the community. They said it themselves. They are the backbone of the community. They're the mother and the father and shit. Okay? Strong and independent, yada yada yada. Look what it's come to. Look what it's come to. I'm not really trying to shit on females or nothing, okay? I want us to be a solid ethnic community. Women, in our community, they're the most educated, and we're supposed to be the knuckle draggers. We're like the gorillas, and they're the chimps, okay? They're the chimpanzees, using Planet of the Apes, old school Planet of the Apes logic and shit. All right, and I hate to use that analogy, but it's warranted, whatnot. I want us to be a stronger community. We have to catch up to our own fucking women and shit. And this is not to compete. This is to, do a reset. We need a fucking reset, okay? Society needs a reset. But we need to think about ourselves. We need to be selfish. Men, you must be selfish to the exclusion of all else. Do what you must, because it's a sort of Damocles nonetheless, okay? You're damned if you do, damned if you don't. We must decentralize our community and shit. We must teach our sons, all of us, men, we have to sign up for selective service when we get 18 and shit, We have to sign up for that. In a country that does nothing, shits all over us. Okay, we're a part of. We fought in every war. Our innovations, our creations and everything. We're a part of the society. We're the blood of the society. Okay, our inventions have made it what it is today. We built this country. The red, white, and blue. That red on that flag. That's the blood of the slaves. Now I won't go into the rest because I don't want to trigger any of the dominant and shit. I really don't want them down here in my space. To be quite honest, it's none of their business. They have enough problems with their country. Okay, their mismanagement of their own fucking country. Okay, while trying to keep a presence on the world stage and shit, trying to keep a dominant presence, and they're failing and shit because they can't change. We lead the way. We're the canary in the coal mine and shit. So going forward, I posit that the future of the black community lies in passport brothers, okay? It lies in them, okay? Going outside, living their lives, doing whatever they have to do, becoming men of the world. Our women have been doing this for a long time, and nothing's changed. Nothing's changed. There's just been some men doing it, but not enough. Okay, women double us in this traveling abroad. Even sex tourism, all that bullshit. They dominate those numbers and shit. It's just not accurately reported and shit. And they want you to stay in the bottle, that is this country. That marmalade jar. They want you to stay in that shit as a retirement plan when they fuck up all the options. They haven't been trained. They're intelligent, but they haven't been trained to generate, to create generational wealth. Okay, and look at our communities. We're at the bottom of the economic echelon, and people tell us to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps and shit. We do have people here that could create generational change, but they refuse to do so. They're selfish, They're watching out for their own. All these billionaires and multimillionaires, they could pour money into these communities and shit, but it would be a losing business proposition, quite honestly, for a lot of them and shit. And they won't do that. And a lot of them have interests outside our community that it dictates that they would use us, feed off us, in a parasitic way and shit. What can you do, right? I can't tell people not to buy certain products or not to do, behave in a different way. It's futile. But we can't train and teach these people to leave. They become citizens of the planet. When your sons, nephews, cousins, and friends are, sign up for selective service, take them somewhere so they can take a picture for their passport and make them, take them to fill out that passport and tell them, like, hey, travel. Just leave the country, go somewhere. Encourage them to learn a second language. Give them Rosetta Stone for Christmas when they're like, 10 or 11 and shit. Make sure they know multiple languages. Otherwise they're just really crippled and shit. Do you really want to cripple? This is why you have, a certain segment of our community that women deem unworthy of, being with, a partner, sharing a life with, Now I want to use that partner thing. I hate the transactional nature of the black community in this here United States of America, 3Ks and set. I hate that. We must destroy that. The women have to do their own thing, okay? I'm not saying fuck with no women or any be, misogynist, overtly and shit, But what can you be, considering our options and everything, what the bleak economic future that awaits us. What else do you have to, what else can you do? All right? If I'm going to be a nerd or something, hey, with Superman and shit, he was a baby. The fucking planet was done. It was gonna implode and shit. And his parents didn't give a fuck about themselves, and they put the baby Superman, the Kal-El, in the fucking spaceship, and they shot him to Earth. Okay, and we have to do that with our sons and whatnot. And you got to protect your seed. If you can't do that, protect your seed at all costs. Okay, protect your seed. Don't give it to women. Don't allow them to monetize their wombs. Okay, don't Don't do that. Okay, make sure once they get a kid, then you're in the system. Okay, and if you get in the system and shit, just pay the money. Okay, pay the money and stay on their bumpers. Okay, any woman that has your kid now, especially boys, make sure you stay on their bumper. Make sure you ride that bitch. Ride her until she gives up the baby or she gets with the program. Just ride her ass and do it legally and shit. There's a lot of resources in the court. All you have to do is take the time to go down there and avail yourself of them. Okay, there's tons of resources. The dominant puts this shit in front of you as a cruel joke. They want to prove to themselves to you. You're so stupid, you won't even take time to read a pamphlet if it will make your situation better. Let's prove them wrong. All right? Some woman has your kid and whatnot. It's your duty and your responsibility to stay on their bumper. If they abscond with your kid, they disappear with your kid, you can file a missing persons report. Okay? You can file that locally, and you can file one with the FBI. And it's real easy. Okay? Just do it. All right, stay on their bumper. Ride that bitch. If she getting a check from you, then she's federally, on the federal level, she's obligated to allow you to see that kid unless you have a judgment against you. A lot of guys I would posit don't have such a judgment against them. So you stay on their bumper and shit, and you be very professional and clean and crisp, unless you can't control your emotions. You're a beta male. Now you have to continually work on yourselves. I'm not just going to talk about the young kings that we have to get to, become global, decentralized citizens of the planet. We still can do work now, even our ages. Even I in my 50s have a lot of work to do. All right? And I want us to, we have to fix our own problem, okay? And what can you do in the system? Like they say in Vegas, the house always wins. So what are you going to do and shit? You go outside of it. You build your own house if humanly possible. We know that we can be excellent. We know that we can be great. We can be iconic. We know this every day when you wake up and look around. You see something that was created by a black person and shit, one way or another. Okay? You see that. All right? But they want you to look elsewhere. Even the fact that I just used the term they, it speaks to, the conditioning, the mental conditioning and shit, the negative reinforcement, how we're taught to think of ourselves as less compared to a minority majority and shit. And that's a problem and shit that we need to address as human beings, as black men. All right? Overall black people and shit. All right? It's not about this supposed patriarchy or any of this other bullshit for me at the end of the day. I guess you could call me a ethnic anarchist and shit when it comes to the black community and shit. I am highly empathetic of our community as a whole and shit, but, I must say that, I follow that old biblical quote, if thy own eye offend thee, pluck it out.